Well, you know what? Satan doesn't like people believing that history. And how does he get people to not believe that? Well, he lies. And here's what it usually starts out with. Boys and girls, do you like science? And the kids say, yeah, I like science, yeah. It gives you cell phones and cures for diseases and rocket ships. I mean, who doesn't like science? And then here comes the lie. Evolution, millions of years, that's science, boys and girls. And with all the evidence for evolution, why would anybody want to believe that Bible? And Christians, they just refuse to look at the facts of science. They're just science deniers. Is this type of intimidation effective for kids? Oh yeah, you better believe it. How about not kids? How about a whole lot of people? It really is. Because people are convinced Christians are the science deniers. We just take a blind leap of faith. And the trouble is that word science, though, has been used to brainwash generation after generation to get them to believe that you can't believe the Bible. So what we're going to do, before I talk about the literal history, we're going to talk about this and what I already talked about, but we're just going to deal with it briefly, is the idea of science says. Like Time Magazine says, you can believe in God if you want to, but it's always against science. And Bill Nye says you can't believe the Bible. So what happens if somebody says science says you can't believe the Bible? What question do you ask? What kind of science are you talking about? And then you have an opportunity to talk about observational science, which is from what you can observe and experiment and test and repeat over and over again. That's where we get laws of science. It gives us rocket ships and cures for diseases. There were two scientists a while back working on the Hubble Space Telescope. One was an evolutionist, the other was a creationist, and they had no trouble working with each other. Do you know why? Because they were both working with observational science, like the law of gravity and the law of thrust and things like that. Where do you think they differed? Well, they differed in what they believed about the past. You see, one says, well, I believe we evolved over millions of years. The other scientist says, no, I believe that God created. Let me ask this question. Does that belief about the past have anything to do with putting a satellite up? No, it doesn't. But people do have beliefs about the past. Like I said, we have a belief about the past. And if you don't want to believe in God, then you have to have another belief of how we got here. So we got two different types of science. A lot of people, they don't get it. They kind of mix them up. They say things like, I don't understand those Christians. They'll take antibiotics that come from science, but they don't want to believe how we got here, how science told us how we got here. Did you catch that? They mix the two together. We'll talk about that a little bit as we go on. So they set it up like they got the facts, we just have faith. They got material, but we got myth. They got the real stuff, and we just have spiritual things. But what we really have is observations in the present, two beliefs about the past. What kind of observations? How about fossils? How about rock layers? How about DNA? How about finch beaks? Yeah, all kinds of information. The problem is the evolutionists, they cheat. They call their belief science, and they point the finger at Christians and say, you don't believe in science. And it's effective, isn't it? Yeah. So, well, why do I believe what God says and I don't believe what man says? Anybody want to guess?
Because man lies and God doesn't?
Right. Well, actually, I told you, because it's what God said.